That's the overview, Ambassador Dayal, that you've given us. Colonel Rohit Dev, let me bring you in right now. Let's look at the military standpoint on this entire issue. While many have actually, already dismissed the fact that, let's be very clear, that there is always a common enemy when we talk about a pact. What's the common enemy as far as this pact goes? There is no clarity on that issue, and that is the reason why perhaps it was being dismissed by many. But now with General Chauhan stepping in and saying that, look here, there is going to be a security implication, I want to understand from the military standpoint, what do you really look as a threat perception here?
Right, Shravan. So there are two, sort of possibilities. A, it is aimed at us. B, it is not aimed at us. I go by the latter. The primary function of this entire Mecca Pact is to get Israel into some kind of a caution in terms of what can be done, because Pakistan has actually failed to its previous promises to the same very countries where it is formalizing this pact currently. So the pact is basically that I will give you weapons from Turkiye, I will give you money from Saudi Arabia, and you will do the beck and call when the contingency arises for us to affect West Asia or to affect the security of Saudi Arabian assets as well. So it is a very clear understanding. Now, coming to the threat perception as far as India is concerned, I'll tell you why it's not a threat. A, like the ambassador said, the trade of 43 billion, which may be about closer to about 41.58. The combined value of trade of Turkey about 8 plus billion and Pakistan 4.75 billion, with Saudi Arabia is woefully short of what India trades today. And not to mention, forget, is that we have signed certain alliances and been members and bilateral councils with Saudi Arabia. So there are two different players. One is Saudi Arabia, one is Turkey. When it comes to Saudi Arabia, the Prince, Crown Prince and our Prime Minister, you have seen how these high-level dialogues are happening through the Strategic Partnership Council. They are also committed to the counter-terrorism intelligence sharing mechanisms with India. So worst case scenario, and this pact, if you go to Article 5 somewhere, it does not mention anything to do with taking action of a counter-action on terrorism emanating from Pakistani soil or any other territory. So India is not an aggressor in any war. So if you see from that perspective, it has to be India to launch a war into Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, respectively, or combined, which India has got neither the time nor the inclination. India is going to only act or react, both act or react, preemptive or reactionary, to Pakistan's terror network and otherwise. And for that, the end sharing mechanism, especially with Saudi Arabia, impinges on Saudi Arabia that diplomatically they might do a little bit of rhetoric, but there will be no financial or military implication going into a war against India. While the same is not very true with Turkey. Turkey has armed Pakistan even in Op Sindoor, and you have reports where their operatives of the drones have got killed in action and also injured. So it has been a silent kind of a thing. Now they want to formalize it more, and that is why you see in the last week the caches of arms and ammunition moving into Pakistan. For what reason? Preparing for the winters or whatever is their problem. The angle which India has to look out is only one, and that angle is Bangladesh. And that is strategically very important
Right.
because Bangladesh today, with the unrest and whatever the voices have emanated against India, especially because of Sheikh Hasina being in India and things like that, are putting a little bit of pressure on both sides. And if you understand what has happened after the announcement of the Mecca Pact, the Indian top hierarchy, including Dr. Jaishankar, has been very curt and sort of, even sort of stalling the comprehensive economic partnership agreement, which is on the anvil. We are also putting pressures, and India has got tools. I don't want to use harsher terms diplomatically, but we can surely weaponize a lot of things, including routine exports and cutting off corridors of ingress and movement of material to Nepal, Bhutan, and everything else can happen. And given our leverage over their power grid, over their infrastructure, India is differently poised. But in Bangladesh, the token to kindle is the Bangladesh military because they are much more mature and understandable in terms of the
Right.
geopolitics of it. And I think India is doing something very silently to ensure that this so-called positive outlook towards the Mecca Pact as announced by their polity does not play down on ground beyond a point. The worst case scenario, which everybody probably can think of, is invoking this particular pact and Bangladesh joining. Let me tell you militarily as well. Even if it is invoked, hypothetically, the chances are absolutely 0.100 times zero and then probably a one.
Right.
Turkiye and others have got a lot of bottlenecks to move arms, ammunition, and men. Whereas if you just give it a twist and you just say, okay, India and Israel will cooperate accordingly, and silently or a pact, I know we don't care. But in terms of terror network and addressing them, Israel is a partner. So if you invoke this, Israel comes along. I mean, the balance of equilibrium changes drastically when you see both these countries who have got geopolitical, sort of token to play around the entire globe. If you look at Japan, how much time does it take for India to tell Japan not to go into the deep shore ports and the metro
Okay.
network and infrastructure investments? How much time does it take for India and Israel to tell US to tame Turkey,
Okay.
because USA itself is wary of Turkey's industrial base rising there. So I think there are many geopolitical connects with the military. And while
Okay.
the statement which the CDS made is absolutely bang on when he says that the name is not there, so we must plan for it. Every military commander, every geopolitical leader, every political leader in a country has to plan for worst case scenarios, which says that this gives us the liberty A to manufacture more arms munition. This gives us the factor to go for
Right.
more diverse energy portfolios beyond Saudi Arabia. This goes for us to say we should be better prepared for many socio, and military perspectives and contingencies. And I think that is what the CDS is implying, that
Right.
we will prepare accordingly, which actually gives us the weight in the future. And I'm not even talking about the Russians and the other friends coming into the party.
Right.
So I think
You know,
we are very well poised and see from that perspective.